Well, guys, we are officially in that Nintendo Direct season as we're coming to the end of January and beginning of February, because we finally have our #1 reliable source coming in and telling us that yes, we are going to have a Nintendo Direct in the first week of February, which is literally next week. Yes, this comes from our 100% reliable source, Nin10doland, who has been right about everything Switch 2. I think even before Switch 2, we could go back far away, but he's pretty much always been right about these things. Pretty much 100% spot on. I don't think there was any time he actually was wrong so far. So yeah, we are probably going to have a Nintendo Direct next week. I think a lot of us kind of expected this. There's a lot of things going on in the month of February. You have Mario Tennis Fever coming out the second week of February, and you have the Pokemon Day that's going to take place, and lots of the Pokemon information, especially since it's their anniversary year, the fourth week of February. So we knew it was going to be the first or third week that made the most sense, and it looks like it is going to be the first week, which is next week, which is pretty exciting. But what do we know about this show, and what else does Nin10doland say? Well, before we continue, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Nintendo. We're trying to reach our goal of 400K. You can make that happen. Let's see how many people we can get to subscribe from just today's video alone. Thank you so much. If you want to watch the entire podcast from Nin10doland, click on the link in the description down below where he goes into detail about what he thinks could happen this year and all that stuff. But to continue on with that first week of February, he states that it's probably going to be on the 5th. That's what his sources are telling him as of this moment. It could be flexible. It could be the 4th or the 5th, depending on time zones, but he's thinking Thursday the 5th, literally next week, which is super exciting. Now, when he talks about the context of this show, he says that he is pretty sure it's going to be a general direct, but it could very well also be a partner showcase. He hopes it's not, because he thinks they really need to blow out information. I do too. I don't see in what potential world do we get a partner showcase to start this year. Their last Nintendo Direct was pretty lackluster for a lot of people. They didn't announce really any huge games to look forward to. The games that we know are coming out this year, we have no information about, like Fire Emblem, Fortune's Weave, and Splatoon Raiders. There's a bunch of other stuff as well that they have to cover, and there's a lot of new stuff that they have to announce. A lot of people are still holding it against them that they don't have a major game right now to look forward to, and that has to be at this show. So I am very certain that this is going to be a general direct, because if it's not, literally everyone is going to lose their minds, man. Now, I want to make sure that I am clear when I say that this part is mainly speculation from Nate. Nate simply says that he really thinks that this should happen, and he dives into a whole segment in his show about 3D Mario and says that he believes that it's the time that this could be a big holiday title for them. They really need a big game, and he thinks that this is going to be that big game for them, which of course, you know me, it makes me happy, but also I'm not buying it still. I'm just not buying it still. I just do not think that this is going to happen yet. I don't know. It's just something about this game just feels like a pipe dream to me right now, I guess, pun intended. I don't know. I feel like Donkey Kong kind of offset it for a while. I feel like I still personally think that this year is going to be Luigi's Mansion 4 as the big title. But maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe it's finally time, but I can't predict it. I can't. I can't, but that's what he is feeling. He says it just feels right. Like it's finally time for that we're going to get a big announcement, and it's going to be a big thing, and, you know, it's going to be the big game of the year, which, you know, obviously I would love. I don't want to spend too much time on that, though, because, you know, how many times I've predicted this thing, how many times I've said it. It's funny. The entire world is saying that they think it's going to happen this year. IGN even made multiple articles about it and videos this year talking about how they believe this is the year. So, like, if it doesn't happen, like, are fans truly just going to give up on this game? I don't know how. Yeah, it's weird. It almost feels like Nintendo has to make this happen now, because they pushed it so far along. It's pushing 9 years this October. They're almost a decade since the last 3D Mario. There's the movie out. People are clamoring for a big new game, and it just feels like it's 3D Mario time. I really hope it's the case. We're just going to have to wait and see, though. But I'm not buying it yet. Now, he also said something else that was kind of insane to me, where he thinks that there is actually a chance, a small chance maybe, but a chance that they could show off the next Zelda game sometime this year. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think it's way too early. You know, Tears of the Kingdom came out in 2023. It's only going to be 3 years this year. 3 years since the last Zelda game. I don't think they punch it that fast. Like, I just don't see that happening. Now, they have in the past with pretty much every mainline Zelda game. They give us like a couple years in advance look as to what the game's going to look like, what it's going to be like. So they could just keep repeating that, but I just don't see that happening this year. It is Zelda's big 40th anniversary, so they could end it with saying like, hey, take a look at this. And it's just like a small glimpse, like one of those scenes of Link sitting on his horse in the middle of a brand new Hyrule or something, a brand new Link or something just to get people talking. They could do, who knows, but I do not think that's what's going to happen. He thinks it's going to be lots of smaller things, maybe some older games brought back. He hopes it's the Oracle Seasons and Ages games being remade. I've never played those games. Those are the only 2 Zelda games I've never finished. I played a little bit of them, but I've never finished. So having them be completely remade from the ground up, maybe even by Grezzo or something, would be pretty cool. But I am still holding out personally on the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake. There's been a lot of sources pointing to this happening. Nintendo's been teasing for this to happen with Lego sets and like little things here and there. So yeah, I'm personally really hoping that that's the big Zelda game of the year. I would love a big Zelda Ocarina of Time remake, man, and it would give even more reason for them to do other games like Majora's Mask later on. I know a lot of people are holding out for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, but I mean, personally, I think I'd be fine with just a bunch of smaller games and like a big Ocarina of Time remake thing. Personally, that's all I need, and I think they'd have a successful 40th anniversary. I mean, who would not like an Ocarina of Time remake, man? It's one of the greatest games of all time. Now, he also states that this year is going to be probably a lighter year for Nintendo, which this is where I think we're different when it comes to what I believe is lighter and not and stuff. Let me explain. So he thinks it's not going to be one of those years where we have banger after banger after banger, month after month after month is a major game. And you can say that Switch 2 has had that so far. I mean, going from just June to the end of the year, you had Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Dragon Drive, Switch 2 Welcome Tour. You had tons of Switch 2 editions with Super Mario Party and even with Kirby and the Forgotten Land. You had Kirby Air Riders, you had Metroid Prime 4, you had Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment. There was a lot of games, but the question was, were all those games good? Not necessarily. A lot of people didn't like Prime 4, and myself included. Hyrule Warriors was just another Hyrule Warriors game that just came and went. Kirby Air Riders was actually pretty good, but I feel like it didn't hit with a lot of people outside of big Air Ride fans. And then Mario Kart World was the very mixed title that launched with the Switch 2, and Donkey Kong Bonanza was like the only one that I think the general public really loved. So I've been saying that Nintendo has a problem with quantity over quality right now, and I feel like this is a good thing. If 2026 is less games but more impactful games that are bigger, more full experiences, I think that's all we need. I don't mind waiting 2 or 3 months for the next big game if Nintendo drops a full, like, really well made from the ground up game. I mean, I feel like that's how it always used to be. You know, you'd get a really big release and you'd wait a couple months for another really big release. We don't need to be constantly spoon-fed a new game every month just to keep us entertained with Nintendo. There's so many games to play. There's so many games from other companies. Like, we don't need that. That's where you start pushing quantity over quality. I much prefer quality. Taking your time, releasing big titles every 3 to 4 months or so, that's perfectly fine with me. But Nate the Hate says that he is expecting a lot more Switch 2 editions, which I do not like these at all for a lot of reasons. He thinks that there could be things like a Switch Sports Switch 2 edition, which means that it would just be, you know, the same game with maybe a couple new sports added. I didn't think that game was that good at all, and they should just make a complete new one, like a Switch 2 Sports or a Switch Sports Resort or something. But yeah, that's for another video, I guess. But honestly, I'll probably make a video talking about what would be the perfect Nintendo Direct, but in my mind, if they just do these things, I think this would be a very successful year for them. Regardless, I think a 3D Mario game is already going to be a very successful year for them. I think we're still downplaying the fact that a 3D Mario pretty much runs the entire year. You announce this thing at the next Nintendo Direct, that's all anyone and everyone is going to be talking about for the rest of the year until it comes out. Like, that's literally going to be your game that carries this console throughout the entirety of the year. That's why I say it's so important, because it honestly doesn't even matter what else comes out. Everything else that comes out is just a cherry on top. So yeah, getting that Mario game announced in a February Direct would be massive. I still don't think it's happening, but it would be massive. Without diving too much into predictions yet, I think having a huge Zelda anniversary start to the show would be massive, where you start the show with lots of cool information on Zelda and maybe some, you know, sneak peeks at the future, including the big Ocarina of Time remake. I think that would be a great way to start your show. Have the rest rest of the show talk about things that we already know. For instance, they did announce a Tomodachi Life Nintendo Direct already, and they've been getting a lot of stuff out of the way, it seems like, weeding some of the information out so that way we can be prepared. They just gave us a Mario movie Direct. They gave us an overview for Mario Tennis Fever, and then they give us this. They even gave us an overview trailer for the Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition, so like they got a lot of the stuff out of the way so far. So there could be a bunch of little announcements sprinkled throughout the show, including some big trailers for Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave and also for Splatoon Raiders, really showing off why those games are so important. I think also throwing in some updates for Mario Kart World, which Nate is saying that he thinks could happen. That could be something that he would really like and something that could really liven up the game. This could be like one of the biggest things that they announce, honestly. If they can find a way to give some major updates to Mario Kart World, adding tons of new content and stuff for free and just fixing a lot of the problems that the game has, I mean, this could be the biggest, highlight of the show, something that just saves Mario Kart World for a lot of us. And then in the show with your big 3D Mario, that doesn't feel too unreasonable. Like normally I make some predictions that could be off the wall and just jam-packed and like a direct from a pipe dream. But does that not sound reasonable to a lot of you guys? I mean, Zelda Anniversary to start, some more information on Fire Emblem and Splatoon Raiders, and then finally closing off with like some Mario stuff again, like a Mario Kart World update, and then a 3D Mario, I think is pretty reasonable. It feels like there's still room for other things to be announced later on in the year as well. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping for the most. That's like my biggest hope. But personally, I think that last announcement, I think that's the only thing that's going to be off. I think it's not going to end up being 3D Mario. It's going to end up being something like Luigi's Mansion 4, which has been heavily speculated by a lot of us content creators. I just feel like Luigi's Mansion 4 feels like the time. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just feels like it's time for that game compared to 3D Mario right now, which, in all honesty, it's literally time for 3D Mario, but I'm just like, Nintendo. They're stubborn with this game. I don't know what it is, but time will tell. But yeah, we have something to now look forward to for next week, which is going to be very nerve-wracking for a lot of us because this Direct has to be massive. It has to be really, really good for Nintendo's sake. I mean, we've been hearing about slowing down in holiday sales for the Switch 2. We've been hearing about investors complaining that there's no major game. Even Nintendo senior employees themselves have stated that there's a lack of a major Western game for Nintendo right now. So this is your chance. I mean, you're complaining about it, then do something about it, Nintendo. It's time to show what this major game is going to be, what's the next big game for your Switch 2, and what's going to be the game to drive sales through the entirety of 2026. We will know probably in a week. It's crazy to even think about. But let me know in the comments down below what you're expecting from this upcoming Nintendo Direct, and let me know what you really want to see the most. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a blessed day. See you guys.